Alright, shalom, Hebrews. This Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. And, man, I got to make this video. You know, I be watching a lot of videos pertaining to Israelite history and heritage. And I like to see what a whole lot of Hebrews are saying and to try to see if they understand the history like we supposed to, because our history supposed to line up with the law, the history, the Tanakh that our ancestors, wrote. Our history, if your history don't line up with the Tanakh, then it's something ain't right. It's something wrong. It's something seriously wrong. And what I want to say now, Hebrews, you know what I'm saying, it's like I've been watching a lot of the videos, you know what I'm saying, and I can kind of see the conspiracy or the movement that them Jews trying to put down, the people that we abandon our heritage to, the people that we abandon our heritage to. I'm starting to see the little move that they trying to put down. It's like I already got a video showing how the black Jews that's in Africa, like the Igabus and the Limas, and how them people can't be Hebrew Israelites, and how it's history in a way showing how they come across their Jewishness. You see what I'm saying? It's history available showing how them folks come across their Jewishness. You know what I'm saying? And the conspiracy that I see now is that the Jews, whether it's Ashkenazi or the Sephardi Jews, are trying to get them Igabus and for us to come through them. Us to come through the Igabus, because the Jews control the Igabus, and they trying to say that the only way that you could be an Israelite is if you come from the Igabu tribes, and you know what I'm saying, and all that old stuff. And what I finna start showing is how the people that's left in Africa and that didn't come to the transatlantic slave trade kind of like had their hands in the slavery trade, because it's like, they took the people from the interior of Africa and then they took them to the coast. You see, all the people that's on the coast that's still there, you see what I'm saying, and then didn't get taken to slavery. And if they always been on the coast, then it mean that they had their hands in the slavery trade. You see what I'm saying, that they had their hands in the slavery trade. Because, them folks didn't leave nobody behind, and would nobody stand on the coast of Africa knowing that these beasts is kidnapping folks and taking everybody away. Everybody would have been got them. Man, it would have been like a bad omen to go to the west coast of Africa, because you can get kidnapped just because your black skin and get taken somewhere into slavery. But now these people been there and still there. We're coming to find out, man, them folks had they kind of like hands in the slavery trade, a whole bunch of them. You know what I'm saying? They took the people from the interior of Africa, from the Sahara. You see what I'm saying? And it took 250 some years to remove us from Africa. Just imagine if they took 1 million a year for 200 years. Man, that's 200 million gone. You see what I'm saying? And we said that it was hundreds of millions of us that got taken in the slavery trade and destroyed. You see what I'm saying? And then it's like, I got proof that the Angola groups, the people that they were called Bantus and all that, that them folks, the Congo groups, in the Israeli minister just went to the Congo trying to get up with them and trying to be friends with them, because they've been friends for a long time. And then if you notice, if the Israeli prime minister go throughout Africa shaking his hands and grabbing them folks back, and then they hugging, they was partners long time ago, in the slave trade with getting rid of us Hebrews from Africa. You see, I got proof showing that the Hebrews ran into Africa, all the tribes, during the Babylonian Wars. It's like, I just finished watching these videos about this brother talking about Hebrews to Negroes, and then he gonna try to throw up some DNA and try to say that if you got E1, B1, A1 DNA and that you a Hebrew. And I'm here to tell you, Hebrews, that that's false history, because they have no bones of the prophet. They have no bones of Abraham. They have no bones of Isaac. They have no bones of Jacob or Moses or his sons. So you can't say what the DNA is. You strictly got to go by prophecy. You got to go by prophecy in the history of the Hebrews and what they ran to and what they was doing before they was chased off the land. And when they was chased off the land, where they go to? Well, they got myths to try to say that, the Hebrews went up to from Assyria times all the way up to Europe. I got a video covering how white supremacy started off the 10 lost tribe myth, and how because those Jews are white non-pigmented people that got our heritage now today, and then how that the rest of the people, the white people gonna think that they superior and kindred to the Creator, because if the Jews is white and then they white and look just like the Jews, then you know what I'm saying, that's the green light right there to do what you want. And them people from the Caucasus Mountain. All right, check this out. How about the Jews? The Jews are taking African tribes. The Jews are taking African tribes, people that had nothing to do with the transatlantic slave trade, that missed all the curses. Man, I'm talking about them missed all the curses. And then they trying to say that they Israel, and then the only way that they would recognize us being Israel is if we came from them tribes in Africa that practice Judaism now. You see what I'm saying? They real slick, and they be thinking and planting seeds and popping game 20 and 30 years in advance, man, before it, take effect and do the damage that they wanted to do. But we're going to try to nip this one in the bud, because we can't have folks claiming Israelite heritage. Really what they doing is slick taking advantage of us, because they know we don't have no power right now, and they know we don't have no unity. You see what I'm saying? So they trying to jump in and drive and turn the Hebrew car the way they want it to go, and down the road they want it to go down. You see what I'm saying? But we ain't gonna let that happen, because if you understand true Israelite history and what happened to us, and then that's the Tanakh, and then go on the word that prophet Moses said with them curses, then you're gonna see it's impossible for them other people to be, Hebrew Israelites, because they missed the curses, and then missing the curses is like a mockery of the Creator. That's like them Jews that hurry up and say, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna turn this little video on too, where one of them say, yeah, some of them went to the slavery trade to the west, but some of them didn't. You see, that's bucking the Creator word, because the Creator said that we'll be taken to Egypt in ships. You see what I'm saying? And I got plenty videos showing that America is this Egypt, and how they got the main Egyptian symbols that symbolize our enslavement here, like that Cleopatra needle that they call that's up in New York, that obelisk. That obelisk was erected when we first went into slavery in Egypt. And then they got the statue of King Necho. Necho gonna kill King Josiah. Our last chance to not be enslaved and lose our heritage was under King Josiah, because he cleaned the whole land up of Egyptian worship, Amorite, Canaanite, Babylonian worship. He cleaned it all up. And then the Egyptians would come out and kill him and put us back on the Egyptian religion, and we foolishly went and we were going to Africa and lose our heritage. And we sojourned in Africa in the Sahara till the transatlantic slave trade started. Did no Hebrews leave the Sahara and go up to Europe and become the Moors, or kick it with the Moors and all that old foolish stuff? You see, that's like the people that we abandon our heritage to are Babylonian scribes. They go all the way back to the Tower of Babel. They've been in control of Western history since the Tower of Babel, since Babylon time. And the only time that they had a little pause in their rule was when the Creator gave us that new covenant through prophet Moses when we left Egypt and we was to go into the promised land to disrupt the Canaanite culture that went from the Nile all the way to the Euphrates. You see what I'm saying? And if we would have destroyed them like we were supposed to, then we wouldn't be in the bondage that we in today. You see what I'm saying? But this is what I want to show, is that those African Jewish tribes who the Jews are trying to say are the children of Israel that didn't go through no curses. You see what I'm saying? You see, they forever trying to make a mockery of the prophecies in the scriptures, because then it let them keep their heritage. See, if they can make a mockery and foolery of the scriptures and try to get everybody to believe in some lies, then that secure them with the Israelite heritage. And what will secure them with our heritage is us allowing the Ethiopian Jews, the Igabus, and the Lemas claiming the Israelite heritage but having no curses, and not questioning that and not being on the defense of that, because it has to be a reason how those folks claim an Israelite heritage. And then to go into Africa trying to do Judaism or to do any laws that was supposed to be done on the promised land. See, didn't no Hebrews leave the promised land to go into Africa to do the covenant? You see, that's a lie right there. That's a lie. Because if we had the will to do the covenant, even if it was just a few of us, we wouldn't have never been driven off the land, as I can show in the book of Jeremiah, how he said that our sins was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah. You see what I'm saying? And then that's gonna be ain't nobody righteous in the city. You know, if you know Sodom and Gomorrah history, you'll see the prophet Abraham walked it with the Creator to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and then he asked him, was it, you know, if it was 50 people there righteous, would the Creator destroy them? And he said, nah, I ain't gonna destroy them if it's 40 in there righteous. And then prophet Abraham said, well, if it's 30 in there righteous, would you destroy them? And he said, man, I wouldn't destroy them if it was 20 in there righteous. And then prophet Abraham said, hey, let me ask you again, would you destroy them if it was 10? He said, I wouldn't destroy them if it was 5 in the city righteous. It wasn't nobody in Sodom and Gomorrah righteous. You see what I'm saying? So it had to be destroyed. And the Creator destroyed them, sent them Amorite scattering and scrambling like some rats. And then we were supposed to destroy them, the remain that didn't get destroyed and that possibly escaped. When the Creator gave us the law from prophet Moses, it was to destroy them and destroy the culture that they had. Basically, the culture that you have today in this Western Hemisphere come from the Amorite culture. You know what I'm saying? The Amorite Babylonian culture. You know, these folks right here. These people right here. Them people right there. You know what I'm saying? The Sepharvaims. The Sepharvaims are who we abandon our heritage to during the Babylonian wars. They was placed in our land during the Assyrian times. And they was Babylonian scribes and they've been scribing and writing history and recording history of gods and everything since the Tower of Babel. You know, that's like a lot of Hebrews get caught up and confused in their history with that the Incas and Murdoch and all that old stuff. All them old gods was around during Prophet Abraham time, and Prophet Abraham didn't believe in them, and he was told to get on away from them parts. And the reason, you know, the Creator chose him because he didn't believe in Enki and the Anunnakis and all them old Babylonian gods that the Babylonian people scribes wrote the history of. See, some of us read the book of Gilgamesh and say, the Bible come from me, and it's parts of the Bible in here. It's parts of the Torah in here. Being straight caught up and sent out by them Babylonian scribes, because the history that Prophet Moses got is going to be correct, because he going to get his history and all the understanding that he get from the Creator when he was writing the Torah, the first 5 books. You see what I'm saying? Our history was recorded. You know, our history was recorded by the Creator. That's why it was recorded in detail, because the Creator had our history recorded. Okay, this is what I want to go back to, Hebrews, of how you defeat, you know what I'm saying, the enemies, because it's enemies. The enemies is going to be anybody that say that we ain't Israelites. You see what I'm saying? And being able to defeat them is a must. And I have the history to show you how to defeat the naysayers, the people that say that we ain't Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? I have history to show, you know, that we are the Hebrew Israelites. And you have to go basically to the book of Jeremiah. You know, the book of Jeremiah is going to be the only book besides the curses. You know, yeah, we can match our history up to the curses, and there's going to be a few other people in the world who been oppressed that's going to have a similar history. That's just, you know, the way it is. You know, oppression is oppression. And Prophet Moses outlined the oppression, which would be those curses. So, you know, we know some people going to have a history like that. But if you don't have the history of the Hebrews going into Africa and then showing those curses, then you can't be Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you know, it's like, you know, the enemies say that we ain't Hebrews because, you know, they believe in Jewish myths and lies. And those myths and lies gonna be that the Israelites ran from Assyria times and went all up into Europe. You know what I'm saying? They say that, you know, they left men in Syria and then went on up through the Caucasus Mountain where it's cold and stuff, and then went on up in here and settled and stuff. You know, now one time throughout history do them people say, well, all the Hebrews ran into Africa. They try to stay away from that like it's a plague. Man, it's like they don't want nothing to do with saying that the Hebrews ran into Africa. They always say a far off land up north. And then if you look in the scriptures, that's who the people the Creator sent to destroy the Hebrews was from the north. You know, that's why I say it's important to read the book of Jeremiah, because the book of Jeremiah gonna be our last prophet. He gonna be our last prophet for the 99%. And that, you know, when we broke the covenant, you know, 99% ran into Africa, while a little 1% was taken to Babylon. And you know, it's like two separate histories, but I have history covered the exiles, showing how they didn't make it past the Greeks, and how the Greeks and the other people in the land destroyed them. You see, the land was empty of Hebrews for 50 years during the Babylonian Wars, from 588 BC to 538 BC. It wasn't a single Hebrew in the promised land. Either you was in Africa or you was that 1% took into Babylon. And when the ones taken to Babylon come back, they start sinning real bad. And that's the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Those 5 prophets covered the exiles from Babylon, and they show how they sinned so bad and was mixing, passing the heritage off, and how that's what made the Greeks roll up. You see, that's how the Greeks come in. You see, anytime an invader come to the promised land, it's going to be because we either sin, our sin made them come. You see what I'm saying? Our sin being made them folks come, and then that's what happened, with the exiles, because they start mixing with the people in the land, and we couldn't pass our heritage over to the people in the land. We couldn't pass our heritage over to them. It was impossible. The Creator wasn't having that, because they couldn't be Hebrews under the covenant that Moses gave us and then be the enemies at the same time. You see what I'm saying? Because it was enemies in the land that the Creator had outlined from our exodus from Egypt that we had to destroy. And we didn't destroy them folks. We started kicking it and parlaying with them. And that's what caused us to be driven off the land into Africa. You know what I'm saying? And this would be the exiles' history right here. This would be the exiles' history. And their history didn't go past 420 BC. Gonna be the last of the exiles. And then this is real important too, because this is how you defeat that fake Jesus history, is that you use Chronicles, 1 Chronicles chapter 3 is the sons of David, and it go all the way to the end, because the exiles recorded our history upon returning from Babylon, after being exiled to Babylon and returning back to the promised land. And they wrote, King David's descendancy, and then it goes all the way down to 420 BC, Nania. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus, the New Testament genealogy don't match this at all. You see what I'm saying? Because the people that we abandon our heritage to are the New Testament people. You see what I'm saying? All right, but this is what I want to do. Hebrews, I want to defeat some of these lies. I'm going to go back and run the history down, how to defeat, the enemies. With true Israelite history is basically the book of Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah show that we ran into Africa, especially when you get, towards the end, chapter 44. It show you how we said, which was a state of man, how we said that we wasn't going to even do the covenant no more. And how we was through with the covenant, and how it was easier for us, and how we had food and everything when we was in Egypt, and when we was doing the Egyptian religion, and we took off to Egypt. And that's where we stayed in the Sahara. Egypt boundaries, that's like the boundaries in the nations of Africa that exist today gonna come from the League of Nations, when they divided Africa up, and that Egypt borders went all the way over into Libya, Lower Libya, because you see baby pyramids in Lower Libya. They don't want to never talk about that. You see baby pyramids in Lower Libya. So, the Egyptian borders was way more extensive than what they, show today. And that these little borders right here come from when the European nations, Britain and Italy and Germany and everybody, France and all them devils, did, sliced Africa up and stuff. And that's the political boundaries that you get today. And then they even shuffle the peoples around during them time, move some of them here and move some of them there and stuff. And that's where the wars and stuff is coming at in Africa, because you have people that didn't originally live in one spot, took into one spot, took into another spot. They did a whole bunch of stuff. But it all gonna go back to the Hebrew Israelites and what we did in the book of Jeremiah during the Babylonian wars around 588 BC, how we said that we wasn't going to do the covenant no more. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you defeat the enemies, is that you show that the Hebrews went into Africa. You know, they gonna try to find some verses and say, but it say they will be destroyed. But then you're gonna find some verses that's gonna show that it say that they will be taken to all nations and that the curses will be, put on them. And I'm gonna show that. And there's no way, it's impossible to defeat the book of Jeremiah and its history and us being linked to that, because the Hebrews that went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion never returned home. They never returned home, and they had the opportunity to come back home is when the Persians defeated the Babylonians and held control of Egypt, and even ran the Nubian stock. You know what I'm saying? All them got chased away. You know what I'm saying? Cyrus and them son. You know what I'm saying? They even chased the Nubians away, and that would allow any Hebrews that was in the promised land, that was in Africa, to return back to the promised land. And we never come back out of Africa after going there, saying that we was going to live there and worship the Egyptian religion. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get to that and I'm going to show that. But this is what I want to show also, because like I say to them folks, our enemies is slick. And then this what they doing. They might find a Hebrew, but they going to find one that don't know the truth, because anytime a person get some airplay and some media play with them Jews, they gonna make sure you don't know the truth, because they not finna be on there and then you teaching the truth, showing them some fools, making a fool out of them. But this is what they trying to say. They trying to say that that we could be Igaboos, possibly Hebrews, because of the Igaboos. Now that's blasphemous, because the Creator said that all the Hebrews will be taken to Egypt and shipped. You can't find nowhere in there where it say that some would be exempt from the ships and wouldn't have to go to slavery in a strange land. See, that's going to be key points that we're going to have to push and stress. Where is your yoke and your ship to Egypt? We're going to have to ask them that, because the Jews did trade all around the world while we was in Africa, making Jews and converting people everywhere. They converted people in Armenia. They converted people in Turkey, all over Europe. Man, they converted people everywhere, all in Africa. And then some of the tribes that they converted in Yemen, that's like, it's this dude named John Heinekes. John Heinekes converted the whole Edomites in 130 BC. Man converted the whole Edomites in 130 BC to Judaism. You see what I'm saying? And then them people would go through Yemen and set up in Yemen. This dude right here converted the whole Edom. Man converted the whole Edom peoples unto Jewishness, to where that they become one. And when they say that Edom is in the Jewish people, it's gonna basically come from the documented act that was done then. The whole world knew that he did this. The wrong, you know what I'm saying? The Greeks, everybody knew that he had did that. So that was in history, and they couldn't hide that. And that's why I come in 20 BC, Herod built that temple, didn't nobody say nothing. It's because they was all Edomites. And that's why I come when Jesus was born, and then he come back and kicked it in that temple, and then kicked it in them synagogues and never said nothing, is because they was all Edomites. And then I show you in my videos showing the New Testament history how the Scythians, Ashkenazi, settled in the Discopolis. The Ashkenazi code name is Scythian in history, and how they settled in the Discopolis and would become, the New Testament people, and those are Jesus members and stuff. And I also show how they had a weed smoking culture. You see what I'm saying? So Herod built that temple in 20 BC, and they was all Edomites since 130 BC into Jewishness when they become one. And then in 20 BC, Herod built that temple, and then in 70 AD, it was destroyed by Ashkenazi, because Ashkenazi wanted their synagogues to be the only place. And that's why come that verse in Revelation gonna say, those are the synagogue of Satan who say they are Jews and are not. You see, that's because Jesus was a Edomite, Amorite, Sephardi that knew the history of Ashkenazi and knew that they wasn't the original people, being that Jesus people, the Sephardi groups, had been there since 722 BC. That's a long time to be thinking that you was a Hebrew, you know what I'm saying, till Jesus was born. All right, Hebrew, check this out. Listen to this dude. Listen to him, named Master Wicked. I got a video with him on there. This Rosenberg, Harry Rosenberg dude. We listen to them. They setting up ahead of time. They trying to get the African tribes that didn't go to slavery, that they converted, or that come off converted people that went into Africa. They trying to get us to come through them, and then if you ain't came through them, then you can't be a Hebrew. You see what I'm saying? And that's gonna lead you right back to them folks. You see what I'm saying? That's gonna lead you back to being them and being beholden to them.
He's an Ashkenazi Jew. He gave the quote. He said, quote, "We are amazed at the Christian stupidity. Judaism is not only the teaching of the synagogue, but also the doctrine all upon them." And we also talked about Joseph Flavius. He said at the time, they always answer yes. They never say too much time.
To make sure we give him ample time to dialogue with us. So with that being said, without further ado, we'd like to welcome things. So before we start...
And it inspired me to continue in their journey, in their footsteps, and I've spent about the last 10 plus years investigating the lost tribes of Israel, trying to help unite them while studying Torah in Torah study institutions in Israel.
Wow, okay.
And
okay.
1,000 years ago, when in those days they wrote
Far Eastern Arabic land to the local kings around them.
Okay, so then that leads me to the next question is, if you had strangers that converted to Judaism, were they also supposed to endure the curses of Israel listed in Deuteronomy 28? So then basically saying that everybody...
Man, it was a part on here. I don't know how I missed that part where he gonna say, yeah, they could be Israelites that was taken in the transatlantic slave trade if they affiliated with the Igaboos. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what I was trying to show. You know what I'm saying? And how they trying to show that if you don't come off them African Jews that didn't go through the curses, then, you know, you ain't finna be no Hebrew in their eyes, and that you got to come through the people that converted still. And then that's like this brother right here. You know what I'm saying? This brother, you know, these individuals, man, you just got to watch out for Hebrews too teaching history, because Hebrews teach false history because they teach Jewish history. You know what I'm saying? It's like this brother gonna say that the Sephardic Jews just magically appear, and that they appeared in Spain, and that they were Jews that were made. You see, it's all kind of false history going on. You see what I'm saying? First of all, the Sephardic Jews' Hebrew name is Sepharvaim. It's Sepharvaim. It's Sepharvaim. That's their name. You see what I'm saying? It's Sepharvaim. And the Sepharvaim cover the Sephardi, the Sephardic, and Sephardim. You know, those gonna be the people that was placed in our land in 722 BC while we was on Egyptian religion. See, while we was on Egyptian religion, it was some folks placed in our land. You see, it was some folks placed in our land, and them folks didn't, you know, follow the covenant all the way that Moses gave us, because, you know, during the time that they was placed in the promised land, we had a mixture of Jeroboam religion. going on. But anyway, those people would try to do what the Israelites did in the northern kingdom, and they was placed in 722 BC, and these gonna be the people that go all the way back to the Tower of Babel. Them gonna be the people that go all the way back to the Tower of Babel. You see that name, Sepharvaim? That's where the Sephardi Jews come from. You know what I'm saying? And when they try to say that they went to Spain, and Spain means Sephar, that's gonna be because they done went there long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Under their Phoenician heritage. See, them peoples are Amorites, and Amorites are the founders of Babylon, and these peoples are Amorites. And when we abandoned our heritage to them, it was like the Amorites getting their heritage back. But as you see, it says, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuddar, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. You see, that's where the Sephardi Jews come from. You see, and it's a whole lot of Hebrews getting media play now, but they only getting media play if they using incorrect history. You see what I'm saying? If they using incorrect history, then they get media play. You know, but it's like I show in all the other videos. You know, this is how you defeat the enemies and show that you a Hebrew. It is you take them to the book of Jeremiah. You know, that's like I just showed how them people was placed in our land. The Sepharvaim was placed in our land in 722 BC. Well, if you go to the book of Jeremiah, this is going to be 134 years later. This is going to be around 588 BC. And you're going to see this is what we said. We was chasing off the land. And then, like I said, that our sin was on the same level, you know what I'm saying, as Sodom and Gomorrah. You know what I'm saying? And how King Josiah was the only time from Solomon's death to King Josiah being born, it's going to be like about 300 years. You know, from 931 BC to around about 631 BC or something like that, when King Josiah was born. You know, then he come on the throne, you know, at the age of 8 after his father Amon was killed. You know what I'm saying? And then he cleaned up the whole Egyptian religion in the northern kingdom, like the prophecy about him had said he would do. And then the Egyptians killed him and put us back on Egyptian religion, and all the tribes would go into Africa, and we would be enslaved from there and took into the strange land, just like the Creator said. And when these Hebrews saying that Hebrews is all in the four corners of the earth and took into the four corners of the earth, we're only in the four corners of the earth. We still in captivity. I can show you in Hebrew history where the Hebrews served in the Philistine army until King David whooped them folks. King Saul whooped them folks, and then the Hebrews that was in the Philistine army came back on our side. So we still in captivity, and we in the United States Army, and we all over the earth. Now that's how the Hebrews are spread to the four corners of the earth, is because we're in the United States military everywhere. But during the transatlantic slave trade, we was taken to the strange land. See, some of them lands that the Hebrews taken to the four corners of the earth, they ain't gonna be a strange land, because we knew about them people as documented in the scriptures. You know, even Prophet Jeremiah was sent to the tribes of the north to get them to drink out that stuff he had, that stuff in that bottle that made them folks go crazy, and it made them come down and get us. He gave them something to drink. All right, that was northern nations. So we knew about the northern nations and the northern people, and we knew about Babylon in the eastern nations. It's America, the West, across all that water that we didn't know nothing about. You know what I'm saying? That's like I got videos showing and proving didn't no Hebrews come to the Americas before the transatlantic slave trade. Didn't no Hebrews come to the Americas before the transatlantic slave trade. Impossible, because, you know, we had wheels, chariots, and horses, and cattle, and sheep, and goats, and how it would have been impossible to abandon that culture. You see what I'm saying? Now the reason we abandoned our heritage for Egyptian religion is because we was always familiar with the Egyptian religion, and then we had two tribes descended from the Egyptian people, you know, Manasseh and Ephraim. But like I say, ain't no Hebrews came to the Americas before the transatlantic slave trade, because, you know, you would need, you know, goats, cattle, axles, wheels. You know, a wheel can't work without an axle. You can't have no chariot without an axle. And you know what I'm saying? So we didn't have none of that. We had houses with windows, with rooftops. You know, I got a video covering this, you know, showing how, you know, no Hebrews made it to the Americas. Okay, we have to defeat our enemies with true history. And look, like I said, you know, doing Jeroboam time, doing Solomon time. Let's go back, man, to then. I can go all the way back to when Joseph was tricked by the Pharaoh and given Asenath. Soon as Pharaoh seen that Joseph answered his dreams, and that how Pharaoh institution of worship and everything was rendered worthless by Joseph answering his dreams, and how Pharaoh slick planted the seed and gave Joseph Asenath. Asenath was the priest of On's daughter, and from that union you get Manasseh and Ephraim. And it's a proven fact that the tribe of Ephraim kept us in violation. And through the tribe of Ephraim, you get Jeroboam. And Jeroboam was chased to Egypt. You know what I'm saying? During Solomon time. It's like I got a video showing that how it was a prophet during prophet Jeremiah time that was chased into Egypt, that ran into Egypt, and how the Egyptians let the Hebrews come in and get him. You know, this was a prophet that was down for the Creator and telling us that Jerusalem would be destroyed. You see what I'm saying? And how we would be driven off the land. Where Jehoiakim and them tried to get him, and then he ran off into Egypt, and then the Egyptians let them come in and get him. But Jeroboam, they didn't, you know, let Solomon them come in there and get him. You know, Jeroboam gonna be kin to the Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? Let's go back and let me show this. Now, this is true Israelite history. And then if they ain't showing this, kicking this kind of history, then they history off. You see what I'm saying? This is how you back them folks up from trying to claim our heritage, because they have to been and went through all this, and they got to know this formula. See what I'm saying? If they don't know this formula, then they ain't no Hebrews. All right. I already showed you, you know what I'm saying, about, you know what I'm saying, we already know about how Joseph, you know, brothers and them did him wrong, and then how he ended up in Egypt, and then how he answered Pharaoh's dreams through the grace of the Creator, and then how Pharaoh gonna see that he had the Creator on his side, how Joseph gonna have the Creator on his side, and then Pharaoh gonna give Joseph the priest of On daughter, real slick. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephaniah Peniel, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. And Joseph went out all over Egypt. All right, you see, so you know what I'm saying, he gave him, you know what I'm saying, the wife, you know, the Egyptian wife. And then look, and then they had two sons. And unto Joseph were born two sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for Yah had made him forget all his toil and all his father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for Yah had caused me to be faithful fruitful in the land of my affliction. All right, so Joseph got, you know what I'm saying, some sons mixed with some Egyptians. That's some black folks right there. All right, and then, you know, we know Prophet Moses and all them come about, and then this what happened. You know what I'm saying? When we was thrust out of Egypt, and then the Egyptians told us to go, that gonna be Joseph and them kinfolks, sons and them kinfolks who we had mixed up with, because some East Africans had come on the throne. We was kicking it with the Africans in Lower Egypt, the Egyptians in Lower Egypt, where the ones from Upper Egypt come on, the Nubian, Ethiopian stock that enslaved us and chased us, you know what I'm saying, made us get on down, you know what I'm saying, through the Exodus. And then the other ones who Joseph and them had originally mixed up with, they gonna leave with us. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, flocks and herds and very much cattle. See what I'm saying? So those people would go with us. And then we know that, you know, them leaving with us wasn't no good thing, because soon as Prophet Moses go up to get the law, that, you know what I'm saying, we would, you know, do the Egyptian religion. You know, and I say that's because them folks left with us, and how Pharaoh was planting his seed. You see what I'm saying? And it's right here. You know, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. You see what I'm saying? And then Aaron gonna get the stuff and make the golden, you know what I'm saying, the golden calf. You know what I'm saying? And we know how Prophet Moses come down, and it was a big old issue about that right there. You see what I'm saying? Big old issue. And that caused a lot of people to die. All right, so then, you know, then we get on and, you know, start to come into the land with Joshua, and then, you know what I'm saying, we get, you know, Samuel, and then Saul, then King David, then we get Solomon. You know, it's like I try to show in the videos that we only did 800 years in the promised land. We only had 800 years in the promised land, so whenever you kick in Hebrew history, it's got to be within an 800-year content, man. It's going to have to be within the 800-year content. You can't go outside that, because from the time of Exodus to the time we was kicked out the land is going to be about 800 years. You know what I'm saying? And then here go Jeroboam roots. He going to be from the tribe of Ephraim. You know? And Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite, that's Ephraimite, of Zerubbabel, Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was Zerubbabel, a widow woman. Even he lifted up his hand against King Solomon. You know, and look, and Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shawshank. You know what I'm saying? The king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. You know, and then, you know, Solomon didn't send nobody in to try to get him like we did in the book of Jeremiah, trying to get that other prophet. And then you're going to see that when Solomon died, that Jeroboam, you know, even when he come out, that Jeroboam come with them 2 golden calves. He going to be done got that from his Egyptian roots, from being in Egypt. Wherefore the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold your gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, the Egyptian religion was on us all the way to King Josiah cleaned it up. And it's the prophecy for King Josiah right here. And behold, there come a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense, and he cried against the altar in the word of the Elohim, and said, O altar, altar, this saith the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, whose by name Josiah. Upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And sure enough, they come to pass. You know, it's like I show how the Egyptians planted their religion on us is because the Egyptians had to do trade across the promised land with them folks up there. You see what I'm saying? With they folks up there. And I can show you how Egypt was part of the Assyrian Empire and was her strength before we even got a heritage. You see what I'm saying? Before we even got a heritage, and how, you know, Egypt was Assyria's strength, and how they did trade with us having that covenant and doing that new culture that Moses gave us that was anti-religion and anti Amorite Mesopotamian culture, how they bothered them Egyptians and how they planted they religion on us. Like Jeroboam come out with them 2 golden calves from Egypt. Okay, the Egyptians would kill King Josiah after he cleaned the Egyptian worship up. And then, like I showed, that is no 10 lost tribes. You know what I'm saying? That it never was any 10 lost tribes. You know what I'm saying? That it never was any 10 lost tribes. And that all the tribes went into Africa. That's like, you know, during King Josiah time, the Assyrian captivity was over. And you'll see that he cleaned up the whole kingdom, as well as his great-grandfather, King Hezekiah, sending a letter from Beersheba to Dan, from one end of the kingdom to the other, showing that all the Israelites were still there. Okay, all them Hebrews would be there till the Babylonian war start, and then we will go into Africa, all the tribes. You see what I'm saying? Let me see if I could get all this in real quick. And then that's the history to defeat the enemy, is showing that we went into Africa during the book of Jeremiah, and how we never returned when the exiles come home from Babylon. All right, as I show you that, you know, Jeroboam put the golden calf on us. And now let's go to 2 Chronicles 30 and start with King Hezekiah. You have to show them King Hezekiah history in order to show that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, you know, during the Assyrian time. And then I'm going to show in the end how the Assyrian only took 3 tribes. You see what I'm saying? So they defeat all the enemies claiming a Hebrew history during Assyrian times. You see what I'm saying? All right, this King Hezekiah, man, I go over this all the time. This is repetitious. But we must know this, and we have to understand this history right here in order to understand how we the Hebrews, because other than that, they be using Jewish history. This is the only Hebrew Israelite history right here. This is the only history. And you can't go off this and make something else. It have to go just like the book said. All right, and Hezekiah sent to all Israel in Judah and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh. Now, he done wrote a letter unto Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come unto the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the 2nd month. For they had not kept it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, and neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation, so they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah at Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written. So then he done wrote a letter from Beersheba all the way to Dan. Beersheba all the way to Dan. That's the whole inheritance right here. So it wasn't no 10 lost tribes right there. Wasn't no 10 lost tribes. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't no 10 lost tribes. There go Dan, and that's all the way to Beersheba. And then he gonna go on to say that we even escaped from the kings of Assyria. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remainder of you that are escaped out of the hands of the king of Assyria. So then he go on down as you read, you know what I'm saying, going down, and he gonna name the tribes that escaped. So the post passed from city to city through the country of Manasseh, Ephraim, even to Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn. This is in 715 BC. This is 7 years after the Syrians took the fighters. Nevertheless, the verse of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. You see what I'm saying? And then as you go to the other page, you're going to see, and keep reading, you get down to 18. For a multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim, Manasseh, Ishkar, Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves, yet did they eat the Passover, otherwise that it was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, the good Elohim pardon everyone. So them tribes were still at home. And then the ones that wasn't at home, look, even the Jews, the Sephardi people that was placed in Samaria 7 years before even they came to the Passover dinner, so they would know our history and they would know our heritage. They was Amorites from Babylon being reunited with their land when the kings of Assyria placed them. And that's verse 25, showing that we was there and they was there too. And all the congregation of Judah with the priests and the Levites and all the congregation that come out of Israel and the strangers that come out of the land of Israel that dwelt in Judah rejoice. So that's going to be the Sephardi folks right there, rejoicing, happy. You see what I'm saying? All right. All the tribes not mentioned during King Hezekiah time going to be mentioned during King Josiah, his great-grandson, because we know that Manasseh was taken to Babylon by the Assyrians that held control of Babylon, and then them mixed folks and the white folks got together and went and destroyed Assyria. I got history covering this in just about all the videos I talk about this. But Manasseh prayed, and then the Creator let him come back. You see what I'm saying? And then this is going to be the end of the Assyrian wars, is when King Josiah come on. Because the Creator let the Babylonians destroy Assyria, which would give us a chance to see what we was going to do. Whether we was going to do right by the law or whether we was going to be driven off the land. And during King Josiah's time, we followed the law. You see what I'm saying? He cleaned the law up. Everybody was scared of him because he was a prophecy king that we was waiting on for 300 years. This the real Messiah. And Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 130 years. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. But in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the Yah of David his father. In the 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places, in the groves, and the carved images, in the molten images, and they break down the altars of Balaam in his presence, in the images that were on high above them. He cut down in the groves, in the carved images, in the molten images. He brake in pieces and made dust of them, and strode it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon their altars, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simon, even unto Naphtali, with their mattocks round about. And when he had broken down the altars in the groves, and had beaten the graven images, and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. See, and then this go to tell you all the stuff that King Josiah did, and all the tribes was there. We even donated some money, to go to the temple. But then when you know what I'm saying, at the end over here you see, and Josiah took away all the abomination out of all the countries that pertained to the children of Israel, and made all that were present in Israel to serve, even to serve the Elohim their Yah. And all his days they departed not from following Yah, the Yah of their fathers. You see what I'm saying? So, King Josiah would clean up the Egyptian religion, and then the Egyptians would kill him and put us back on the Egyptian religion. And that was our only chance to get right, since fooling with that Jeroboam religion that come out of Egypt. And if you read Jeremiah 36, it's going to tell you And it come to pass in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, that this word came unto Jeremiah from the Elohim, saying, Take ye a roll of a book, and write therein all the words that I have spoken unto thee against Israel and against Judah and against all the nations from the day that I spake unto thee from the days of Josiah, even unto this day. You see, that was our only time to be clean, was during the King Josiah time. 30 years we was off the Amorite Egyptian religion, and we just only followed the Creator. And then the Egyptians killed King Josiah and then put us on the Egyptian religion. And then the Creator sent these folks in there to get us. Sent these folks right here to chase us up off the land. You know what I'm saying? Ashkenazi right there. You see what I'm saying? That's Ashkenazi on them horses. You see what I'm saying? And this is the dude that killed King Josiah to put us on the Egyptian religion. Nietzsche right there. And that's that obelisk that's in New York that we was enslaved with in Egypt when our bondage first started in Egypt. When we first started to go into slavery, they put that obelisk up. And that's the Egyptian king that killed us when we tried to escape the Egyptian religion. He gonna kill King Josiah and put us back on the Egyptian religion. And we will go into Africa in the Babylonian wars because the Creator was sent for Ashkenazi. And that's going to be the book of Habakkuk as well as the book of Jeremiah too. Because let me show you how he sent them folks, told them folks from the north that he was sending them folks from the north to get us. And then they had went and drunk something. You know what I'm saying? And then, all right. Then said the Elohim, put forth your hand and touch his mouth. All right. And see, I have set thee this day over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down and to build up. All right. Moreover, the word of the Elohim came unto me and asked him what he see. I see it a rod of an almond tree. You know what I'm saying? He probably holographs showing him visions. Then he said unto him, Thou hast seen well. I will hasten my word to perform it. You know what I'm saying? And then as you read down, then the Elohim said unto me, out of the north, an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. You see what I'm saying? Because we worship the Egyptian religion. You know what I'm saying? And the Creator told Jeremiah to go get him something to drink. And up north from us, gonna be them folks right there. Them Europeans, Ashkenazi in them. And that's gonna be them folks right there that came with the Chaldeans. Ashkenazi made up the Chaldean army under the name Scythian. You know, Scythian is Ashkenazi code name in history. You know what I'm saying? And if you go to Jeremiah chapter 44, you'll see that, you know what I'm saying, that they chased us into Africa. All right. Even 43 will tell you, you know. And it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking unto all the people, all the words of Elohim their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words, then spake Azariah the son of Hosea, and Johanan the son of Ker, and all the proud men, saying unto Jeremiah, Thou speakest falsely. The Elohim our Yah had not sent thee to say, Go not into Egypt to sojourn there, but Baruch the son of Ner setteth thee on against us, for to deliver us into the hand of the Chaldeans, that they might put us to death and carry us away captives in Babylon. There wasn't nowhere to stay, you know. And then as you get over here, the whole land was empty, you know. Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 2. This said the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel. This said the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel. This said the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel. Ye have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah. And behold, this day they are a desolation, and no man dwelleth therein. You see, the whole land was empty for 50 years till them exiles that was captured came home from Babylon. You see what I'm saying? And this what, we see it going into Africa. All right. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelled in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. You see, and then we went into Africa, and then we never came back out. We never came back out. And then this show you that we went into Africa. If you go to 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 26. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies, arose and came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldeans. That's going to be them folks right there chasing us into Africa. And then we will go into Africa, and we will stay in Africa, because the people, the 1% that come home after the Persians defeated the Babylonians, they never recorded the people, the 99% that went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion. They never recorded us coming back out, being reunited with them. And they can't make no history up now. They can't find no history. They can't do none of that. They can't say, well, the Hebrews went into Africa and they got destroyed, because the verse said that they would be destroyed. No, but if you look at the verse is going to say that we will be taken to another land in bondage, for running into Egypt, Africa. In Egypt is the Sahara. Egypt is the Sahara. Egypt is the Sahara. And that's what we ran to. So, whenever them folks say, oh, y'all ain't the Hebrews, you got to pick the book of Jeremiah up, and then that's how you defeat the enemies. In that ye provoke me unto wrath with the works of your hands, burning incense unto other gods in the land of Egypt, where ye be gone to dwell, that ye might cut yourselves off, and that ye might be a curse and a reproach among all the nations of the earth. You see what I'm saying? So, it wasn't no getting around that. It wasn't no getting away from that. It wasn't no getting away from that. So when them folks be saying, y'all ain't Hebrews, y'all ain't the Hebrews, y'all ain't the Israelites, and all you got to do is pull the book of Jeremiah out. You know what I'm saying? That's like this. Look, then said the Elohim unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward these people. Cast them out of my sight, and let them go forth. You see what I'm saying? Let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt say unto them, this saith the Elohim, such as for the death to the death, and such as for the sword to the sword, and such as for the famine to the famine, and such as for captivity to the captivity. And I will appoint over them 4 kinds, said the Elohim, the sword to slay. Man, we been going through the sword. Them folks been slaying us. Man, you see how the police pull up and just take folks' lives when they want to. And the dogs to tear. During the slavery days, man, they used to put them dogs on us for trying to escape. And then even all the way up to the 60s, they put the dogs on us. And even in some neighborhoods, they ride around with the canine dogs still. You see what I'm saying? And the beasts of the earth to devour and to destroy. And I will cause them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, because of Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, for that which he had did. Because, when Hezekiah had clinked everybody up and tried to put everybody on the right track, his son gonna come behind him and fall down. Them Amorite Egyptians turned him out. And then Amon, even though he repented and tried to get right in the end, but then Amon, his son, he didn't put him on the right course. And then King Josiah, it was a right up blessing for him to come on, because after Amon was killed, I think 2 years on the throne, he was killed. Then anybody could have been king while King Josiah was a baby, but he come on, and we was waiting on him for 300 years, and he cleaned that Egyptian religion up. And then the Egyptians killed him and put us on the Egyptian religion, and all the tribes ran into Africa. I showed you how all the tribes is there, from King Hezekiah to us going into Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I say, these folks right here, man, they created myths. They created myths and lies, and then they want the people who ain't had no curses on them, meant to be Hebrew Israelites. You see what I'm saying? Them Sephardi groups, they see if they finna lose control of our heritage, that they gonna have to put our heritage in a layman's hand, in the people that they created hand, and let them slick control us. We'll still be off if we controlled by anybody. And then they feel like that they can say who the Hebrews is, because we don't have our act together here in captivity. Some of us just now waking up, figuring that we the Hebrews. And the first thing you do is run to Jewish history. That's like that one video where the brother was talking about the Sephardi Jews. Then he went straight to the Khazars. The Khazars. You ain't gonna hardly see none of my videos talking about the Khazars, because that's late history. That's history that they created to throw you off. It's only 2 players that participated in the capture of our heritage, and we abandoned our heritage to the Sephardi groups, and Ashkenazi gonna be the one that chased us into Africa off the promised land under the name Scythian. You see what I'm saying? It's plain and simple as that. And then white supremacy gonna mostly come up off Ashkenazi, because if they light-skinned it and white-skinned it, and then the people think that they are the chosen people, then the white folks gonna think that they the chosen people. You see what I'm saying? They gonna think that they the chosen people. And that's where white supremacy come from. White supremacy gonna come from Ashkenazi Jews saying that they the Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? And they both playing it together. Ashkenazi and the Sephardi are the same people on the coin. It's just different sides of the coin, because it's like the Sephardi groups gonna try to bring these folks into our heritage. The Megaherb, the Jews of West African Megaherb descent, especially the Jewish community in Nigeria, the Igabus, and Megaherbi West African Jewish community in Nigeria also claim descent from Yemenite, Moroccan, and East African Jewish communities: Edom, Megaherbi, Ashkenazim, Tenahim, Sephardim, Liba, Ethiopia, Jewish, Beta Israel, Ashkenaz, and B'nai Asunim, all connected to Edom. They never lost their heritage. And you'll have a Hebrew right now today try to defend them folks and they honor, and don't know nothing what's going on with the Hebrew history. Don't know what's going on with Israelite history, but they gonna say that them folks some Hebrews because they got pigmentation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, them folks had trade everywhere. It's the Jewish trade routes, and that's a Babylonian scribe rewriting our history, putting they say so on what they say that Israelite history is. And it's like this here, Hebrews. I'm showing that them folks had trade routes all over after. Look, you see how they circled the Sahara where we were right here. We're going to be in these parts right here, in the middle part. And then, that's like I say, if the peoples on the west coast of Africa that's been there for a long time and didn't go to slavery, and that's why all them dungeons and slave ships, they going to be the ones to participate in the slavery trade. But this the Jewish trade routes, and they made Jews out of all them people, even in China. And they go to Sephardi Jews. Some of them got pigmentation. And they settled in North Africa and in West Africa, and they would convert some of them African folks. And like I said, we went into Africa during the Babylonian Wars, and we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. So you shouldn't find no Hebrew Israelite in Africa doing the covenant that Moses gave us, because we abandoned it at 100%. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you know them folks is telling a lie, and they caught up, because during the during the Babylonian wars, we went into Africa to do Egyptian religion, and we never returned. And it's a known fact that the Babylonians held Egypt to Mesopotamia. They held control of Egypt all the way to Mesopotamia. So when we went into Egypt in the book of Jeremiah, we had to get on away from there, because there was a lot of wars taking place there. You see what I'm saying? So them folks, they be saying that they Hebrews, they ain't Hebrews, because they didn't go through the curses, and their history don't match up. You see what I'm saying? And our history match identical to the scriptures. Our history, everything. So, because we don't have no unity together, that they trying to put another lie, saying that all them other folks is Hebrews, and they ain't. You know what I'm saying? And this is how you defeat them lies. This is how you defeat them lies. This is how you defeat the lies from the enemies. You know what I'm saying? How you defeat the enemy's lies with true history, showing that we went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. If you don't show that we went into Africa during the book of Jeremiah, then your history gonna be off, and you're gonna be using Jewish history. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. I know these videos seem repetitious, but that's just the way it is, because we only got 800 years of history. So your history have to fit within that 800 years. Shalom. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. We ain't gonna be tricked by these enemies forever. They ain't gonna keep telling us what's Israelite history and what's not. We're gonna start saying what's Israelite history. We're gonna start saying who is a Hebrew and who ain't. Because we know that they can't use DNA. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you turn to the book of Jeremiah. This stop that DNA stuff. So when them Africans and them other folks talking about that E1, B1 stuff, now you got to go by the prophecies, and you have to go by the history. See, if they go by DNA, then we done mixed with all kind of folks. And I can show you that that's a verse saying that would happen. And at that time said the Elohim, this is Jeremiah 8, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves, and they shall spread them before the sun and the moon and all the host of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. They shall not be gathered, but be buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth. All right, so we know you can't use no DNA, because you don't have Abraham bones, you don't have Isaac, Jacob, or Moses. That's why when they be saying you got to be a Jew by DNA, no, because you don't have none of the prophet bones. And this is what this says. And behold, the days come, said the Elohim, that I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beasts. You see what I'm saying? With the seed of beasts. All right, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is how you defeat the enemies, by using the book of Jeremiah. You have to use the book of Jeremiah and explain chapter 44, how it was a state of mind, and how we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, and how we never returned home when the exiles come home from Babylon, and how the Queen of Heaven worshipers never come home to be reunited with them. You see what I'm saying? How we never come home to be reunited with them. And then slavery started. And then here we is. Plain and simple as that. Shalom. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood.